Hello, everybody, and welcome to what is hopefully Through the Mist episode 34. It looks like we're
Woo!
live, having some technical difficulties, gremlins. But let's dive in since we have started a little late today, only about 45 minutes. Last time, the group helped out a small family. You found out a sister and her three brothers whose axle of their wagon had broken. It was in the pouring rain. You had helped them fix that and traveled with them to a small town. You went into the tavern to dry off and warm up, and in the conversations you had determined that this woman seemed to know something about your card that you'd been given, and had said she'd never seen the backing on it, so she wasn't sure who the creator of the deck was. But she thought it was interesting that the face side of it was faded out, was blanked out, like it hadn't had a, like maybe it'd been in the sun too long or something. It's illegible and not recognizable as any of the cards at this point. But Lilith had said, "Well, I want a reading," and the DM said, "Well, that's awesome, and I don't have that thing set up anymore." So we ended there, but we're going to begin there this week. As we begin, does anyone have any questions? Does that sound right? All right. I guess let me ask you, do you see what looks like a table before you on Roll20? Maybe like a
Yes.
tabletop. Awesome. So let's begin with Twiggy, actually, who is currently snoring away on the bench next to Lilith. You wake up and you kind of, it's more like your mind begins to slowly comprehend what's going on around you. Your eyes haven't opened, but you hear people talking, and you smell some food, what might be some kind of boiling meat stew, something definitely somewhat flavorful to your senses, and you're not laying in the middle of a patch of mist, which is where you were when you fell asleep. What would you like to do?
I mean, obviously, um, food for function is the soup du jour. Um, so if it's not within immediate eye shot, I'm going to have to go find it.
Gotcha. Yeah, you sit up and you do see that there are several fireplaces in this medium-sized tavern space. It's not very full right now. You do notice outside the windows it is dark, but over one of them, it's more like an open fireplace. There is a chimney that hangs above it, but it doesn't really like encase the area. There is a large pot of what looks like to be stew, and nearby there are bowls and spoons set up that you can take and essentially help yourself.
And yes, with profound laziness, um, I am going to use Mage Hand to deliver to myself a bowl of stew.
Okay.
Um, I'm not getting up from where I'm at, and clearly no one's here to serve me. That's fine. Magic will do. Uh, it's going to be fantastic.
And Lilith, while this is going on, you noticed that Lyra, when you said, "Oh, I want a card reading," kind of rolled her eyes a little, and she like leaned back in the chair that she's in and kind of lowered her head down onto her, like her chin down onto her chest. And you notice it's pretty quick. She just kind of dozes off. Um, Dizzy, you also noticed that, but can you go ahead and make me a perception check as well?
Perception. What do we perceive?
With a 16, Dizzy, you're going to notice there's a figure standing off in the kind of near the door, not really in a corner, but more like where the door opens up, that corner that's made by the door, if that makes sense. But right now the door is closed, and every so often when it swings open and somebody leaves or whatever, you actually notice that it goes through this figure. It's very hard to see this person though. It's almost like a shadow that keeps phasing in and out of your eyesight. Is there anything you want to do before I dive into this card reading?
I just want to keep an eye out to see if anything happens, like if it makes any movements or...
Gotcha. Okay, so I will let you know if anything changes as things progress.
Okay.
All right, so Lilith, you're pretty excited about this, and Dulcime has like taken your other card and was kind of like trying to get a feel for it or whatever. But she hands you this deck of cards that she pulls out, and like I described it last time, but essentially it has like a series of roses and vines that are painted on the back. They're all very well done, but obviously handmade. It's not like they're printed anywhere. And she just asks you to kind of hold them for a moment and focus your intent. What is it that you want the cards to reveal to you? And so without telling her that, tell me what that is.
I think the consensus is that everybody wants to go home.
Okay.
Go to our homes. So that's the big picture. That's the end goal, is to be able to go home safe and sound. However we do that, of course, it's going to be convoluted. But yeah, we just want to go home.
I mean, what
and
is
eat
it?
a good meal for Twiggy.
All right, so after a few minutes of holding it and focusing on it, she's kind of been, she's like taking a drink of this, the wine that they brought over, the fairly large bartender woman that you met last time had brought over a couple of drinks. So far, none of her brothers have come in, and it appears that she is planning to drink both of them. And she's just kind of been hanging out while you do that. But as you prep to give them back, she becomes very focused on them, and she takes them and she holds them and she says, so you've held in your mind the question that you want to ask.
Yes.
All right, so I'm just going to do a simple reading. Since we're just trying to answer what will hopefully be a fairly simplistic question. The first card I'm going to draw here is, we're going to say it's your focus card. It's where you currently are and where you're trying to get to, if that makes sense. And she draws a card and she lays it about halfway between you and herself. She says, I don't know what this card is because it's not in my list. Darn you. She says, the abjurer. I forgot the term for it. When they're not inverted. She says the abjurer. Yeah, that's quite interesting. Seems as though you're carrying something powerful, something magical, or you have some influence upon you that is a powerful, maybe some kind of effect, some kind of, not necessarily a spell, but something that has determined where you are going.
That's So interesting. It could be like the effect of the heart because we all have traveled together and we enjoy each other's company and we carry that with us always.
I like it. And she does, say something to you as you mention that back. She tells you the cards are very open for interpretation. Some may come out as symbolic, where some may be, extremely literal, but without you having the context in your mind of what they mean. These are just kind of my interpretations. So whatever you think that is, try and hold that and focus. And she holds her hands over her deck and draws another one and lays it to it would be your right, but she lays it to the left of the first one. Interesting. The mercenary. Have you recently been hired to do something or carried out a task for a group of people?
Yeah, it seems that we have, and then found ourselves here. So yes.
Interesting.
Also, Lilith looks at Lyra because she's thinking, carrying, maybe not a spell, but there's something over us. Someone has acquired something.
Right.
It might be Lyra, or it might be, like a sword or a jawbone, which we don't have anymore, but...
Correct. I know you do. No, you don't have the jawbone. You left it there. That's right.
Yeah.
She says that the card represents your past, and it could be something in the recent past or something, further back. But if you've recently helped somebody, that does make sense. This next card is going to represent your opposition, what it is that stands against you in your focus, in the question that you're asking. And as she pulls it out, she kind of stops for a moment. She looks at the back, and you notice for a moment, Lilith, with that perception check that you made earlier, as she draws it, it looks like the back of your card instead of the roses. And she kind of looks at it again. She looks around and she finds the card that you had given her. And remember that when she drew a card for you earlier as well, it had been one similar to the back of it was like the card that you had shown her. And she takes it for a moment, and she closes her eyes and seems to focus, and she shakes it. And when she sets it back down, it looks like one of her cards again, and she flips it. And Dizzy, about this time, that figure kind of flares a little stronger. And even though it is semi-transparent, it becomes very obvious to you as you're looking that it is Umrak.
Okay. So I'm just gonna call Lilith. Just be like, we've got a guest. It's our friend Umrak.
Lilith kind of rolls her eyes because, like, for Pete's sake, for Pete's sake. We're gonna stop the reading and tell the fortune teller that Umrak is here and that he used to be one of our teammates, but he is in another realm and keeps contacting us and telling us to do things, but it seems like he's too pushy to be himself, if that makes sense. So we had decided at one point that this was just like maybe some other kind of being contacting us, but we still don't know.
Interesting. She removes her hand, which she kind of had palmed over the card that she laid down as you were telling her this. She looks at the card, which is the miser. She says, "Has Umrak, you say, their name. Have they been trying to take something from you or hoard something?
Absolutely.
Interesting.
And actually, Lilith likes this woman. She's going to kind of like pull her sword up and pat it a little bit, but not like obvious, like, oh
Right.
my god, I have a sword and I'm gonna flail it. She's just going to kind of show it that it's this.
Okay.
This is what it's probably talking about.
So you notice, as does Dizzy, that Umrak is walking behind her at this point. Like he began walking from the doorway over, and as this discussion's going on, there's this kind of smirk on his face as he looks at all of you, and he walks over and stands next to Lyra, actually, and seems to be looking at her. It's hard to tell because his eyes glow, and therefore he doesn't really have visual cues as much to tell like where on her that he's looking, but he's definitely looking almost for something.
Lilith is thinking, damn it, the necklace.
Where
it.
do you know where this Umrak is?
Like, she's asking me that right now?
Yes.
She's asking Lilith? Okay, yeah. I'm just going to point right at him.
I see. So you're seeing him here, and she looks over, but I'm not. So he must be projecting his mind here in some fashion. Do you know where his body is?
Lilith doesn't remember. Is it the house? Was it the house where his body is?
You've never seen him since the mist took you. So, the only thing that you know is that he has said he's on a mountain.
Okay. So then I'll...
But that's what he's told you. So...
Okay. He said he's on a mountain. Where he is, we don't know.
Interesting. Dizzy and Lilith, Twiggy, you're like laying down, or are you sitting up at the table?
Yeah, I mean, once the bowl gets to me, I mean, I'm going to be in it, because it's warm. I'm going to have myself a soup bath, while I eat some soup. And kind of half-heartedly, like, pay attention to this card thing. There's like weird things happen with cards in the mist.
So why don't
It's all
all of you
weird
make
voodoo.
perception, and Twiggy will be at disadvantage because you're not really paying attention so much as...
I'm having a bath. I'm having an amazing soup bath.
Right. All right, so we've got a 23 from Lilith, a 12 from Dizzy, and an 11. That's not bad for disadvantage from Twiggy. Lilith, as you're trying to think of the answer to her question and all that, you're kind of glancing down, doing the thinking thing, and you notice that the miser card seems to move. It seems to be moving. Not so much the old man depicted on it, but something's moving behind it, almost like serpentine, but it must be several somethings because they're not really moving in correspondence with each other, but almost, some kind of serpent-like motion. And Dizzy and Twiggy, you both notice this a few moments later as you see Lilith staring so intently.
It's just moving.
Okay. Can I take my dagger and stab the card?
You sure could, yeah. I won't even make you roll for that. So you stab it. It stabs into the paper card fairly well, and Dulcime is like kind of shocked for a moment. She looks at you. Did you see something?
I did. There was something going on in the background of the card.
Oh,
Serpentine movement.
quite interesting. Do you want me to continue, or...
Yes, please. I think we need some answers.
She says that this next card will represent the future and the struggle that you have against, or rather to against your opposition, but to gain the object of your focus or the outcome. And then she remembers what tab she's on. Sorry. As she lays down this card, which ends up being the torturer, she looks a little concerned. She says, "While this card has several potential meanings, I am concerned given what you've told me. This could be as simple as a difficult task that you need to fulfill in order to gain your reward, or it could mean that you have someone has an ill intent that they are going to use your suffering against you for." But again, these are just my interpretations. If you have something in mind, it could be that as well. This last card that I'm going to draw is more of a hopefully a happy card. It's the allies or friends that along the way may be able to help you to obtain your goal. And so she pulls the last card out. And she kind of eyes it for a moment without saying anything. You see that it's called the Donjon, and there's a picture what looks in like the inside of a prison. You see manacles hanging from chains, a little bit of moonlight pouring in through a barred window. Now, this is an odd outcome. This could mean that seems like she's really kind of searching in her mind for some kind of way to put this, or something positive that she can tell you. It could mean that the force that you are struggling against needs to be locked away for you to succeed over it. And as you're looking, you do... Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say? Oh, okay. As you're watching, you do notice that the chains kind of seem to sway, and you notice little movements, kind of serpentine, but as you're watching it, it almost seems like they're more like appendages or something that are just kind of waving in the air, but in a kind of tentacular form rather than fingers.
Well, Lilith is going to look around at everybody like, what do you gather from all of this? and just say, I'm a little bit at a loss. Some things kind of make sense. Other things I feel like we haven't gotten there yet, and I suppose it will make more sense after the fact. Thank you. What is your feeling? What is your personal feeling? Will we find home easily?
I wish I had a better answer for you. The cards can be quite convincing sometimes, and other times can be unfortunately vague. If I were to lean heavily into what I'm seeing, it looks like you have some struggles ahead of you yet.
Darn it.
And at this point, you can actually hear a chuckle coming from Umrak.
Umrak. I'm just going to say out loud in his direction, like, Umrak, what do you say about all of this? You're here. You might as well share.
I wondered where you went. It took me a little while to find you. Why did you run away from me?
Trying to find our way home. Where are you?
I'm on a mountain.
Is there anything on the mountain that you're near?
There's a cave that I've been taking shelter in.
What have you been eating?
Oh, what little bits that I can find here and there after my rations ran out.
Well, what's your take on all of this? You're clearly listening in on this situation.
Oh, I just feel like you should continue gathering these objects and bringing them here so that you can go home like you want. Don't you want to go home, all of you? And he just kind of turns his face and looks at all of you.
But I mean, we're already home, right? Yeah, we're home. There's soup here. They've got soup. I mean, it's pretty good here.
Oh, Twiggy.
So what is this next object that we need to get?
Well, it seems that you are in a land where a creature that appears to be human, but is far from, roams the lands. I need you to, bring me a piece of this creature.
Piece, like a fingernail, a toe, a hair?
Well, let's go toe or larger would be great.
All right. This creature, where would we find this creature? Or who should we talk to? Do you have any direction to send us?
Unfortunately, I'm unable to help in that manner, but it seems like you have friends here that could likely point you in the right direction.
Fabulous. Thank you.
No, thank you. And with that, those moving bits on the cards erupt out of the cards in these weird purplish tentacles. They have some suckers on them, but so they're kind of octopus-like, and they reach out and flash towards Lyra. What do you do?
Lilith tries to whack them with her mace.
Okay. And what's Dizzy doing?
I'm gonna try stabbing the cards again and see
Okay.
if that stops them.
All right, so both of you roll attack rolls, and while that's going on, what's Twiggy doing?
So things are exploding out of these cards.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like things like the drawings themselves are coming out, or they're different, like separate from the drawings.
They seem separate from the drawings. The drawings are all in black and white on the face side of the card, and these are like full color, purple, realistic looking tentacles that have erupted and are reaching towards Lyra.
I mean, I had just settled into my soup. And now we've got tentacles that are exploding everywhere. I'm going to leap, I guess is a kind of a strong term, but kind of vault out of the bowl and try and jettison its contents, its warm, yummy stewiness across the table onto the cards. Maybe that'll do something.
Oh, interesting.
That's usually...
like to kind of cover the cards.
Yeah, like, splatter the artwork so maybe they can't go through. Maybe it's a barrier. I don't know. I mean, magic is complicated. Clearly, I know all about magic, and this is how you deal with it.
This is how you magic so well.
This is how you magic so hard.
Why don't you make a dex check?
Dex check.
Yeah, or acrobatics. Because you're essentially jumping out and trying to fling forward the contents of your bowl. Just before that happens, Dizzy takes their dagger and tries to stab at one of the cards while Lilith is trying to smoosh the cards with her mace, or rather the tentacles that are coming out. There is a resounding thwack on one of the tentacles, which kind of crumples down, and it looks like ink just kind of explodes out of it as it returns to an ink-like state and then slurps back into the card it came from. Dizzy, your dagger goes wide for some reason. Like one of the tentacles kind of spins off to the side and slaps your hand, unfortunately missing the card that you were aiming for. And acrobatics, nice. The soup flies forward, and it is kind of an orangish, semi-opaque, and it does splatter over some of the cards, and you do see like this kind of effect where there's like a jittering of the reality, I guess, of the tentacles, almost like it's interfering with them. What do you do?
Well, I mean, normally the best solution is burn it to the ground. But I don't think I've got my weapons with me. Maybe waste some perfectly good soup. So I'm gonna just dive onto a card and kind of wiggle my soupy body all over it.
Sure. Are you diving onto one that has more or less tentacle?
We'll go with more tentacle. We're
Okay.
gonna take these on soupy fairy, face forward, starfish.
Okay. And while you're doing that, what is Dizzy doing?
Can I try cutting up the cards?
Like kind of slice your dagger across it?
Yeah.
Sure. We won't even roll an attack for that one. That one's a little less trying to stab like at the and more just like controlled slice. Okay. And we'll see what Lilith does when she comes back. All right, so you slice one of the cards. Are you slicing one of the lesser or more solid tentacles?
The solid ones.
Okay. So as you see your furry fairy friend plop their body onto one of the cards, the image of these tentacles kind of blops out from the card that he is on, and the one that you slice, the tentacle doesn't disappear fully, but becomes almost translucent and is like flashing in and out and just kind of staying there, almost like it's frozen. But you notice that while this has been going on, the tentacles have drawn closer to Lyra and don't seem to be grasping at her so much as something that's on her person. And you see it pull out a sheath, and the dagger that you had requisitioned from that fellow in Paradon, and it begins retracting quickly back towards the card it came from. While that's happening, Lilith, do you have the ability to tell us what you want to do? If not, I will make something up.
Well, I mean, I think Lilith is going to try and take another whack at it.
Okay.
At the cards. Maybe this time using her sword, which is right there.
Sure. Yeah, you could do that. Is this the sword you got from the house?
It's the sword that I got from the house, but I don't have a thing to hit for it, so I'm using my mace roll.
That's fine. It would be the same roll for that, just the damage would be different. Interesting. Okay, so I need you to make a wisdom saving throw.
Oh boy. Let's see here. Whiz.
Okay, so you stop and you draw the sword, and as you do so, Dizzy, make a perception check for me. Twiggy's like kind of laying face down, rubbing on this card and maybe rolling around, but not really in a spot to notice. You do notice that because they're across from you, you see Umrak looks over at Lilith when she draws the sword, and as her strike with it comes down, it does hit the card and the tentacle, but the tentacle like wraps up and around it and begins to pull. It appears that this had something to do with Umrak's consciousness, like he was aware that the sword was there. Is there anything you want to do?
I don't know if there's anything I can do.
Okay. You think about that, and I'll come back to you in just a sec while we figure out what Twiggy's doing on the card. It seems like that tentacle is mostly... it also isn't really moving. If it does, it's very jerky, and it's kind of flashing in and out of transparency. Is there anything you want to do, Twiggy?
So there's a weapon being pulled in this direction?
Yeah, so Lilith stood up, pulled out the sword that she got from the first house that you encountered in the mist, and she went to strike the card and succeeded, but it seemed like the card grabbed the sword back, and actually the sword is partially... It looks like it'd be in the table, but it's kind of moving around as the struggle is going, so it's almost like it's being pulled into the card instead of having damaged the table.
There was a dagger too, right? Or is the dagger already in?
The dagger's being pulled through the air from where Lyra is currently snoozing.
Would I see that? Hold on. I don't know. I am having myself a soup party.
Oh, not a bad roll.
Not enough of a soup party. All right, so I mean, I need a weapon to burn it all down. I'm gonna go for that dagger.
Okay.
Because it's smaller than the sword. Can I green flame blade the table?
I don't
or
think
the
so.
Cards?
I don't
The
think so. I
tentacles?
think it needs to be a weapon.
Creatures? Isn't the dagger a weapon?
The dagger is a weapon, so like you could cast Green Flame Blade on it.
Yeah, so I'm thinking I'm gonna go for that.
Which I believe you have
Use
to be
it.
holding it, but just let me check real quick. Green Flame.
Would I need to wrest it out of, or like disarm the tentacle to use it? Can I use it during a contested holding of this dagger?
So it says you brandish the weapon used in the spell's casting. So I'm going to say that you need to at least be touching it. If you
Okay.
want to try and control it, like, you're not going to be able to make an attack with it unless you're controlling it. So you could do an action to make an unarmed attack, and essentially we'll do a opposed... If you hit, we'll do an opposed grapple check.
Do that. So it'd be what, my strength?
Yeah, it should be your strength plus your proficiency.
Yeah, so just add 3 to, or let's see here. What? R. 1d20.
So Dizzy, you see this happening. Is there anything that you want to do while or in reaction to this?
Is there any way that I can help? Or
Sure. Why don't you tell me how you're helping, and it could be you could give Twiggy advantage.
Well, I don't want to hold the weapon, so
Do you want to like try and grab the tentacle and keep it from squirming around
Yeah,
so much?
I'll do that. I'll grab
Sure.
the tentacle and yeah. Do I need to make a check for that, or
No, since you're not really trying to like necessarily hold it more, but more just like guide it so that Twiggy has a better chance. So Twiggy, go ahead and re-roll that terrible roll.
I was having some soup. Just having some soup issues.
Right.
I'm covered in soup. It's you know, whole thing. 1d20. +3. Better.
That is much better. Yeah, so you go up and you essentially slam yourself against this dagger, flying through the air. You collide with it, and you try to use your strength and your momentum, I guess would be the right word, to pull it out of the tentacles.
It's soup mentum.
Right. And that was your attack, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're gonna roll a athletics check.
Athletics.
And you can do that at advantage as well because of the help.
Nope.
You can't
15.
quite get it out of the tentacle's grasp, but you're currently hanging on to it while the tentacle is also hanging on to it. You just don't have control of it yet. All right, so while Dizzy and Twiggy are wrestling with this tentacle that is still at least mostly solid, that has the dagger that was from Paradon, Lilith, you're struggling with this tentacle that has a hold of the sword that you got from the house that you found yourself in at the beginning of all of this. What would you like to do?
Boy, I would like to cast Sacred Flame on the cards area.
Okay.
That's what I would like to do.
Excellent.
Set them ablaze.
So I got something
As-
to add.
Yanking, trying to get my sword back.
Go ahead and roll. Oh, you already rolled your damage. So this light beams down from apparently nowhere, and you begin to smell not only the smell of like hot ink and burning paper, but also like kind of charring. It smells. Wow, I don't actually know what what octopus smells like.
Delicious. It's delicious.
What does burning you smell burning octopus? I don't know if that's fishy or not. And it's not really quite octopus, but there's definitely like a that texture of flesh. I feel like it doesn't. I feel like burning stuff doesn't smell that great anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like with sauce, octopus smells good, but like if it's just octopus, it's like a sponge and fish.
That's fair. So with this spongy kind of like horrible fish burning smell wafting up from the table, you notice as Umrak kind of steps forward, and it's almost like he's trying to grab the dagger, but he's transparent and he's not really able to do so, but it seems like he's trying to like help the tentacle to pull it away.
This guy, gosh.
And he looks at Twiggy and says, "Just let go of it."
He's
No.
supposed to be our buddy.
No.
I'm assuming we can't attack Umrak because
You could try.
he's like. Yeah, I think I'll take a swing. and-
Okay, go ahead and make a roll. Oh, nice. I can't see the damage, but what was your damage? Oh, that's why I can't see your damage. Okay. Make me a charisma saving throw.
Oh boy.
Uh-oh.
I wasn't gonna say that's something I'm actually good at, but I did not roll very well.
But the
so-
dice. So Dizzy, you slice outward with your dagger, or sorry, your rapier, and as you make contact, it doesn't feel like you make contact so much as you do see your weapon go through Umrak's form. But when that happens, the stabbing pain in your head like lances through, and like you see bright lights for a moment. You don't take any damage, but there's definitely like this weird sensation, somewhat painful, definitely. And as your vision clears, you're okay, but that happened.
Yeah, I'm gonna just let everyone know, like, yeah, this I wouldn't advise doing that.
Okay.
Like, it
Good
hurt.
idea.
I got like flashing in my vision, and there's something weird about this guy.
Okay. So Twiggy, Dizzy has let go of the tentacle to make an attack at Umrak. You are still hanging on to this dagger. What would you like to do?
Well, in between like spraying soup everywhere, as I flail around with this dagger, going to once again attempt to. No, I'm not. I'm going to cast enlarge on myself.
Okay.
I'm just going to get big.
So suddenly you're like halfling size?
Halfling size.
Yeah.
Aha!
The weight actually pulls the tentacle down, and you smash into the table holding the dagger and the tentacle.
Excellent.
That's an action, right?
It is.
Okay.
It is. We'll deal with it later. Deal with the next step. Step 1, step 2, question mark. Step 3 is profit. It's coming.
Lilith, what do you do?
Oh boy. Okay, so I don't like this guy. I feel like he's our buddy, he's our pal, but like it's also maybe not him. I think I would like to shoot. You know, let's go ahead and moonbeam him. How close are we all standing? Actually, how close are we all standing?
I mean, you're all pretty close to one another around this table. You'd be able to aim it in a way that it would hit just him.
All right.
Oh, no, actually you wouldn't. Sorry.
Okay.
Lyra causes the issue.
Yeah. Then I think I would like to get my spiritual weapon out. I'm just like doing
Sure.
all kinds of crazy things. I'd like to get my spiritual weapon out and take a whack at him.
Sure. So what is your spiritual weapon? What does it look like?
So it is. Oh, what did we decide it was?
Was it a hammer?
No, it's a sword.
Okay.
I want to say sword.
So this glowing sword appears and takes a swipe, and it sure enough goes through. Again, it looks like it just like in the way that it like goes through the transparent form, so you don't really see anything happen. Did that roll damage? I don't. There we go. Got it. Okay, so I need you to make a charisma saving throw.
Gosh, dang it. Charisma.
Nice. Unfortunately, not quite nice enough. You get some stabbing pain that lances through your head, and there's like dots of light flashing in your vision, maybe a little ringing in your ear. So that was a bonus action. You still have an action too.
Oh, fabulous.
If you want, you don't need to take it.
Run away!
And I'm assuming you still have a hold of the sword.
Yeah.
So that you're...
I'd like to maybe set Sacred Flame again.
Okay.
On the cards and pull the sword, because is the sword still being held?
It is, yeah. And in fact, you notice that more of these tentacles are like beginning to grow out of the card and wrap around the length of the blade and pull it further in.
Sad Sacred Flame. Yeah, just try and set him ablaze again.
Okay.
Just can't yank that sword out.
It does. I mean, again, that smell gets stronger, and you notice that some of the ones that were growing out kind of blacken and shrivel away. The sword's not out yet, but it does appear that you've done some significant damage to this card. You're not really sure why. Like, you've used this on inanimate objects before, and it's like burned them away. So there's something bolstering the durability of this card, or these cards, I guess I should say. Dizzy, what are you up to?
So the card reader sees all of this going on, right?
Yeah. So are you gonna look for her?
Yeah, I want to see how she's responding. Like, if she sees any of this going on.
Glancing over at her, she's backed away, and is watching all of you. But whereas she doesn't seem to be glancing at Umrak at all, she definitely sees the like growing tentacles coming out of her cards, and she doesn't seem to mind that you're trying to set them on fire and stab them and cutting them up. You also notice that she's drawn a small dagger and is like just kind of holding it, not in a way that looks like she's going to attack anyone, but more defensively.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that we're not like imagining this, I guess.
And actually looking around, so you glance up and notice Dulcime doing that, and you actually see other people have like gotten up from their chairs and moved back in the last like several moments that this is taking place. So it seems like everyone in the room sees this happening.
You know, we're adventurers. We're exciting.
Right?
People want to see what we are doing.
This is why every time adventurers enter a town, the townsfolk are like, Is there anything you'd like to do, Dizzy?
I'll see if I can assist Twiggy more in whatever Twiggy's doing.
Okay. So, Twiggy, if you're going to try and remove this dagger, then Dizzy's help will give you advantage in that process.
Love it.
So what would you like to do as Dizzy runs over and grabs the tentacle once again, or kind of manhandles it as opposed to like full on grabbing it?
Definitely feel empowered by this new child size Twiggy. Gonna use that to my my advantage, along with Dizzy's help, to attempt again to wrest this thing out of its grasp.
Nice. So does the enlarge give you advantage on strength-based stuff?
Great question. I don't know, man. Enlarge, it's fairy thing. Let's see here.
While you're looking that up, I'm just going to ask what Lilith is doing.
Oh boy. Well, I mean, I feel like I want to keep just setting these things on fire, just because it seems like that's the closest thing that I've done that has done anything to it.
Sure.
Without actually like demolishing our area. So yeah, I'm just gonna continue. I'm gonna continue doing that. To try and get the sword out, I'm just gonna keep fighting it.
Is that the 6 that you just rolled?
Oops, no.
Okay.
Hold on. There we go. Hopefully that's
Oh,
better.
whew. Yeah, nice. So the flash of light that appears is much brighter than the previous ones, and the card just like, it doesn't disintegrate, but it like wraps up and around itself as it blackens and curls, and the tentacle just kind of like poofs into smoke, and you pull the sword. You kind of have to actually make a dex save for me.
Oh, for pity's sake.
As you like are suddenly released of the force, trying to pull the
All right,
sword away from you.
see here. And Dex, you said.
Yes, please.
All right.
Yeah, you
Please?
end up falling on your rump. It's pretty like you. It just wasn't something that crossed your mind. You're technically prone right now, but you also still have a bonus action with your and a move if you want to stand up, and you have your spiritual
sword.
your spiritual weapon on going on.
Weapon. Okay. But and I also have the sword that I just pulled out pulled away.
Yeah, so the sword is now in your hand, but your action was Sacred Flame.
Yeah.
So you have your move, so you can stand up with that and still move around, and you have your bonus action if you wanted to attack with your Hello
So
Kitty.
I'm gonna go ahead and stand up, and then I would like to. So, what is the most immediate tentacle that's close by me?
Let me come back to that, because as you're standing up, you see. Do you have advantage on that enlarge?
I do. And more weapon damage.
Okay.
And strength checks.
So rather than having you roll with Dizzy's help and the advantage that you would get anyway, I'm just going to have this be, especially since you're larger now, you manage to wrest the dagger away from the tentacle, which then begins to kind of whip around. So that is the closest tentacle to you as far as your question. And it seems to be kind of regaining its composure, for lack of a better word. It isn't disappearing. Looks like it's potentially either going to try and grab that dagger again, but you don't know.
I would like to spiritual weapon that,
Okay.
if at all possible.
So this sword comes flying over. Sure enough, slices into it. Nice. It begins to flicker pretty heavily, but it's still there.
Dang it.
Dizzy, what are you up to? Now that the dagger is free, the tentacle has like retracted and is now kind of flickering as this spiritual sword has come over and sliced through it. What would you like to do?
What is Umrak doing currently?
Seems like he's focusing.
I'm gonna throw something at him to try to break the focus.
Nice. What would you like to throw at him?
Like, I'm pretty sure I have a cup, right?
Yeah, you have your. I'm pretty sure you got wine or something, and it didn't come in a
Yeah.
wine glass, it came in a cup. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll throw that.
Okay, why don't you just make a ranged attack?
I kind of love this, like, take that.
What would that be? Like a ranged attack?
Do you have like a dagger thrown? Actually, just roll your dagger. That would be equivalent.
Okay.
12 will connect with the semi-transparent form. You do notice that his visage, like the form you see there, flickers out a little bit, and all of the tentacles disappear.
Nice.
Brilliant, Dizzy, brilliant.
What does Twiggy do?
Going to scoop up the cards that remain on the table, and I'm going to chuck them into the fire that is heating up the soup.
Okay. And while you're doing that, you see that Dulcime, who you actually haven't met, but this woman runs forth and like has a box in her hand, and she like scoops the deck that hasn't been drawn from into it and like slams it shut. So the cards that were emitting these tentacles begin to curl and blacken in the fire as it flares a little bit, and we can go out of initiative from there. And Dizzy, you notice because you're watching that Umrak kind of seems to like take a moment and then solidifies somewhat again and looks over at you. He looks a little sweaty. Like there's, even though he's semi-transparent, like you can see droplets on his forehead. He seems to be breathing heavy. Why can't you just listen?
You have to keep attacking us.
I'm not attacking you. You keep attacking me. Just give me the items that you were sent to collect.
Why are you such a jerk about this?
Because I want to go home too.
Who are you really? I feel like that's the question. You're not Umrak that we know.
But I am
Who are you?
Umrak. I'm your friend.
That's a load of garbage. That's crap. Who is speaking to us through Umrak?
I've had enough of you for now. And he fades away.
Right, when the questions get hard, you run. They all do.
Lyra kind of blinks and opens her eyes. I think I'm gonna go up and get a bed. Does anyone need anything?
Bowl of soup. Just wasted a bowl of soup.
There you go.
So as Lyra leaves the room, Dulcime sits back down and is just eyeing all of you, not necessarily cautiously, but in a manner that, in case anything else untoward happens, she's ready. Seems that there's something reaching out from wherever your friend is. Did you know this, or is it there's nothing that he should be able to do on his own to be able to contact you in this matter? Do you know if he has help?
Seems like he probably does, and it also seems like he's not going to share who's helping him. It would be nice to know who is helping him so we can move forward. I think we might have just figured that out now. This is exhausting. Lilith is going to sit down right next to her and just kind of put her hand in her head. Like,
Okay.
why?
She watches you for a moment. What is Dizzy doing?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, so like, he has someone helping him. Like, what is he want?
I noticed that those appendages seem to be trying to take objects from you. Is there some reason that happened? Is it that he just wants those items? Were they his?
Well, we're not sure. We've accumulated these items that our friend Umrak is saying will help us get home, and that he wants to help us get home. But he obviously wants to, take them, whoever is using him to communicate wants them for whatever their needs are. And who knows if we'll even go home, if this is just some big trick. So we do have some items, and we're sent here to find more. We have to find the piece of a monster type creature that doesn't look like a monster. Something bigger than a toe. Lilith is exasperated.
Yeah. She's
somebody
listening.
Else drink.
As someone who is able to travel the mists, I don't want to give you bad news, but I've never heard of such a thing. Only some of us are granted permission to travel between the realms freely, and I've never heard of having objects allowing. I mean, you can be granted essentially passage to other realms, but I've never heard of something that's going to get you out of the mist unless the mist will it.
Can you talk to the mist then? You talk to the mist? How can we talk to the mist?
It's not. It doesn't really work like that. It's more. My readings can give me guidance. But we Vistani are able to travel the mists from a pact made long ago.
Could you maybe help us in
I mean,
figuring out what we need to do?
We are moving on from here tomorrow. We could technically just take you home.
I mean, that sounds nice.
I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to be taken with us. It's not something I've really done before, but...
Well, what do you guys think?
Wait, we're not home?
No,
Pretty sure we're home.
we're not home.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I don't see any mist outside or weird
There's
people
a
in
big
gray.
party waiting for us at home, but we're not there yet. And
Oh.
food, lots of food.
There was food here.
but
I mean,
And delicious food for us.
there certainly better be. The food here's all right, but grand it is not.
For your
Maybe.
status, if we'll put it that way. Grand food for your status. What do you think, Dizzy?
Getting home would be nice. I don't want to be here any longer than I have to be.
There's
Well-
also something wrong with Lyra, the one that just went to bed.
Oh,
We can't totally figure it out, but she turns into an animal sometimes.
I've heard of curses like this. Is it, was she bitten?
I don't think she was actually bitten.
Did a powerful hag lay a curse upon her?
I don't believe there's a hag involved.
Huh. Was she born with this?
Well, I mean, that's a good question, but probably not. I think this happened to her.
No. Interesting. What kind of animal does she turn into?
An elk, a deer. I don't know. I forget. I don't pay enough attention.
That one's new to me. I haven't heard of that. I have some books I'll read up this evening. We're gonna leave shortly after dawn in the morning. If you want to rest and recuperate and just, whatever you need before we head out tomorrow.
That sounds wonderful.
She picks up the box holding the remains of her deck and wishes you a good night. And if you need anything, she'll be in the wagon outside. What do you all do the rest of this evening?
Well, Lilith is going to channel her divinity, her twilight, and just kind of think on all of this and ask for guidance. And also make a card for our new friend because we demolished so many of her cards. So Lilith is going to try her best to just make a nice twilight card. It'll be a sun with the beams and flowers.
Gotcha. What are you gonna make this card on?
Are there coasters or just a napkin?
You technically have the card that you were given in the beginning of all of this. You could repaint over it.
Yeah, we'll repaint over it.
Okay. So asking the barkeep, I assume, if there's anything that you can use to paint, unless you happen to have paints on you.
No, I don't. Even just a pen.
She's able to give you some pretty rudimentary black paints that are not super I guess you wouldn't really be able to tell like the quality of the paint, but it seems like they're just black paints. But yeah, I mean, thinking about it, other than the backs of her cards, everything on her cards are black and white. Dizzy, what are you up to for the rest of the night?
I'm probably just gonna turn in early.
Okay. And Twiggy?
Going to shrink back to my original size, serve myself another bowl of soup, resume my soup bath that was so rudely interrupted, and ruminate on the idea of not being home. We're not home, where are we? Magic is weird. That sort of thing.
Nice.
Even though I understand magic completely, which I do. 100%, I'm just, ruminating on it because it's, what wizards do.
It is what wizards do. Do you end up turning in for the night at some point? Or do you just kind of wait until you fall asleep?
I'm just gonna wait till I fall asleep. I mean, yeah, I'm just gonna be like that bum that's like up, the last one up in the bar who, in these taverns, may or may not fall asleep in the corner in like a weird, like Irish yoga pose somewhere.
Irish
somewhere
yoga that's holding a beer and
kind of crumpled over somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Lilith, are you going up to a room, or are you staying down here to work on your card?
I'm gonna stick around Twiggy, knowing that Lyra's in a room, and Dizzy, did you say you're gonna go up to the room?
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that Dizzy is with Lyra, I'll stick with Twiggy.
Okay. So throughout the rest of the evening, those who went up to sleep do so uneventfully. It's actually pretty cozy sleeping on these beds as opposed to the last several days. I mean, you did sleep in the magistrate's mansion for a little while. That was pretty nice, but for the most part, sleeping down in the sewers and in the tunnels and all of that, and then trying to sleep on the ground the other day, or like earlier today, that was not so comfortable. And so Lyra and Dizzy both sleep through the night pretty well. And Lilith, as you're hanging out, you notice as people begin to call it a night and head out, every so often they'll come over and tell both you and Twiggy, hey, great job, taking care of whatever that was. And like, there's definitely some like confusion going on there, but they seem impressed with what you did, but not necessarily like weirded out by it. So like maybe these kind of events aren't quite so strange here as they are in Paradon. But you just pass the evening, and you don't need to worry about sleeping in front of people and such as Twiggy passes out after a little while and no one else is around. And there's like a couple of people that are sleeping near the fire, but you go ahead and make this card. Why don't you do what skill do you think that is? Sleight of hand? Just dex?
It's a good one. I mean, both of them are not great for me, so
You could do... I feel like wisdom might also be a viable one.
Okay. Let's see here. What do we got?
So,
could have been better.
but you're not really drawing like the Mona Lisa or anything. You have the sun and like the beam of sunlight causing the twilight to happen and such, and it turns out all right enough. It looks more like your holy symbol than anything else, so kind of abstract, but
I'm super proud. I'm really proud. Like, that's the best thing ever. Perfect.
And you can kind of blow on it for a while, make sure it's dry. And as you're doing so, you realize that the room seems to be lightening, and behind the bar, that woman is once again seems to be cleaning up and prepping. There's a slight smell of something cooking in the kitchen, and dawn arrives. So Dizzy and Twiggy, you both wake up, as does Lyra. What do you do?
I check in on everyone, see, how everyone got through the night and what our plans are gonna be for the day.
So when you leave your room, you notice that the room that Lyra went up to, the door is still closed, but you head down the stairs and see Lilith and Twiggy. Lilith is already awake and hanging out with Twiggy, who's just kind of like moving slightly. You're pretty sure, you get the feeling that Twiggy slept there in that probably similar position and is just starting to come to.
Okay.
Twiggy, what do you do?
Grown. Probably a matted mess of dried soup and sleep. Roll off the table and move towards the smell of food. I mean, it's better than Paragon. They keep saying that we're not home, but this place has food. Check the window again just to make sure that there's not like some boiling mist out there. Is there boiling mist out there?
Now you see what looks like a street and a building across the way, slowly becoming illuminated by the dawn.
They're talking crazy talk. Food, coffee, or tea. Yeah, some coffee or tea, a hot beverage will help wash off this soup. And breakfast to eat. Make sure that there's a round for the table, as is customary at this hour, which they should totally understand. I think that's what I'm doing.
Okay. As you're doing that, the door opens and the three brothers from the wagon come in. They say good morning, and let me double check names here because I thought I remembered, but I don't. Dominic walks over to you. Here you all had a eventful evening.
Oh boy, did we ever?
Thank you for keeping my sister safe. It is appreciated.
Oh, you're welcome.
She says that you are carrying something with you that is dangerous. That a ghost or something. She couldn't see it. I worry about you traveling with us, and you causing us issues.
I don't think he's going to cause any issues unless we're actively trying to ask for assistance. I don't think we want to ask for assistance anymore. He kind of showed himself to be a punk. It should be fine, but we could, if anything happens, just split ways. Maybe you could take us as far as you can, and if something does happen, then we'll go on our own way.
He kind of glances at his brothers who are over ordering food and drinks with Twiggy, and looks back to you and says, do you not think that my sister taking you to the mist would be considered assistance?
No.
No, it'll be fine.
Not at all. I even made your sister a card. I'm not gonna show
Oh.
a card.
That is beautiful. It is a sunrise?
It's a sunrise.
Ah,
Sun is nice.
excellent.
Sun is It's abstract a little bit. It's
Ah,
stunning
yes.
art. No,
Yes,
I'm really talented. I'm really talented.
I would love to see more of your work sometime.
Ah, thank you.
I'm going to have breakfast, and once we finish, we will be heading out. If you need anything beforehand, I suggest you take care of it.
Ah, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And he goes over and sits at the bar and orders breakfast. After a while, Lyra comes down, yawning, wiping sleep out of her eyes. Did either of you sleep? Did any of you sleep? I feel like I tossed and turned all night. I had this dream that Umrak was pestering us again, and there were all these, like, octopuses and stuff. It was weird.
Lyra,
Yeah,
that really
think
wasn't
was
a dream.
Yeah, that actually happened.
Yeah.
What?
You slept most of it. You were not helpful. Not at all helpful. They tried to take your dagger.
Her eyes open. They did what?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, here you go. Give it back.
Pulls it out of your hand, stuffs it back into her belt.
You're welcome.
Mumbles to herself as she goes and gets food. And if you're eating, it's passable. It's actually quite delicious comparatively to what you've been having recently. And there are more than enough, like your plate is stacked compared to what you were eating in Paradon. Is there anything that you want to do before the wagon heads out?
I'm okay.
Okay. So you finish your meals, your preparations, and as you head out of the inn, the sun is over. It's like peeking over the buildings at this point. And you notice that the horse has been re-hitched up to the wagon, and it seems like they are making final preparations to leave. And Dulcime sees you all and waves you over. So we'll leave town before traveling. We've just found that even though the people understand that we are travelers, it's better not to be around people when the mists take us where we're going. So we'll travel out of town, but then I will take you to where you want to go. Can you describe it to me? Can you tell me more about it?
Izzy, what's your best description? That's where are we going? Where's home? I mean,
You put Dizzy on the spot.
I'm sorry.
Where in the Forgotten Realms do you think you'd like to return to? There was the city of Thentia, which is where you left from, but that's also where you saw that carnival that this all started at, and so I don't want to be like, yeah, that's totally where you would obviously want to return to. So if you want to go elsewhere, you and Twiggy had just come from Waterdeep, I believe, which is a pretty large city. That's definitely an option.
Well, let's maybe open that up as an option, because at least like we can get food that Twiggy's used to there, and then since we all we know our way around from there, we can get Dizzy and Lyra back to where they want to be.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
All right. As we travel, I'll just have you describe it as best you can, and it'll help me focus on where to take the she almost says caravan, and then she stops. She's like, the wagon. One day we will find them.
Oh. Well, I wonder if one of her compadres were at the carnival. I'm gonna tell her all about the carnival and who we met in the cards again.
Okay.
like I had mentioned it before, but it was not quite in detail. But I'm going to go into detail about the carnival and, where I got the original card from and everything that kind of like transpired there as we were kind of like getting ready.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
so
As you're walking out of town, you can explain all this to her, and Dulcime says, I don't know the person that made those cards, but maybe they've heard of our caravan and where our family is. That would be most helpful. I'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
you're welcome.
So as you get maybe a mile out of town, maybe not that far, she gets this kind of look of concentration on her face. And even though the sun is up and has now risen fairly, kind of midway in the horizon, or, above the horizon, mist starts to rise from the ground around you. And the way ahead begins to be obscured by this thickening gray fog. And soon you're walking once again through the mists around you. As you begin to describe where you want to go, which is Waterdeep, is that where you want to go?
So, what are
Okay.
you guys busy?
The carnival? Ooh, we could go to the Gardens of Infinite Pleasure. I mean, I hear it's really good.
Like, neither of you, this doesn't sound familiar to you. You're not really sure what that is. It's Dizzy and Lilith. So that would be up to Twiggy to explain if that's where you want to go.
I mean, I'm just saying that it's a garden and it's infinitely pleasurable. I mean, you're talking about grand food and the Fae, they can't be beat. Of course, go back to the carnival. Got some words to say to that lady, to her face. I don't know.
I mean, I'd be okay going to the carnival and trying to find the other, the fortune teller, the seer,
Okay. Dizzy, what do you think?
and good food and good beer.
Yeah, I think the carnival would be nice going
Okay.
back.
All right, so you begin to describe this carnival and the area that it was in. I need each of you to go ahead and make a charisma save.
Oh boy.
Whoo! Lyra rolled amazing. Oh, Lyra didn't roll as bad as Lilith, though. Okay.
Oh
Well,
gosh.
I'm gonna do so well on this.
Everyone's done amazingly so far. Come on,
Wow.
Twiggy. No. All right, so as you're progressing, like, every so often you start seeing, like, little motes in your vision, like little motes of light, and you haven't had this experience before walking through the mist. And then, like, behind your eye begins to kind of throb a little, and your neck hurts. You start getting this headache that just seems like there's this connection between, like, the muscles in your neck and that pain behind your eye.
Oh boy.
And as it gets worse, the words are harder to form. It's harder to tell Dulcime where you want to go. And she's listening and she's, like, trying to focus. And she's like, okay, I think I understand. And, do you hear that? That noise is terrible. And as all of a sudden the wagon behind you, you hear the sound of its wheels on the ground change. It's almost like all of a sudden they're on something soft that's mushing beneath them, and your steps become less certain. And you look around, and as the fog burns away rapidly, just
no.
in time. Let's
Great.
have Dizzy roll any die.
Critical fate.
Oh, okay. As the mist burns away, around you is just desert. vast, brightly lit by the sun plain of sand. And Dulcime looks around and she says, well, that shouldn't have happened. And then her nose just spurts blood and she falls over. And her brothers cry out. And that is where we will end this week.
Dun dun.
Oh my God.
Dun 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 dun.
Any
That's
questions?
so cool.
It's the Garden of Infinite Pleasure.
She was so cool.
I'm not saying she's dead. I'm just saying she passed out at least. She is definitely not currently awake. Anything to share with the audience? Anyone have things coming up? I know that you can find Lyra, Mana on... I can't think of the channel. Coming up here soon. I think it's the 27th, so it'll be before our next stream. Playing Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is super cool. So if I get that, I'll share the link on the show notes for this, which will be out before our next show. Otherwise, follow our stuff on Twitter. Catch us next week here at 2:30 p.m. Eastern for the next episode. As we get closer to the end of Through the Mists, we'll see how things go. Thanks for watching this week. We will see you next time. Bye.